Okay, assalamu alaikum everybody. Hope you are well. Good evening to you, wherever you may be. All right, before I get started, can I just have a quick sound check? Make sure everybody is with me and can hear me. Alaikum salam, Parrot Boy. And he sends his salam to everybody else. Does it sound okay? Excellent, thank you. Before I start, just like to say, because I'm aware that there's quite a few people that watch this. Of course, more people watch this after the time. Usually we have around anywhere between around 10 and 15 people live with us. And most of the views seem to come after this, after it's, after the event. So for all of you who are listening later on and would like to contribute, what you can do, I've put this into the description as well. You can just on this video, you can just put in your own contributions in the comment section. Anything you want to add, any bit of contemplation you want to give us, anything you want, however you would like to contribute, but you can't, maybe because either you don't want to come on, or it's just not a time which is suitable for you. Then just put it in the comment section, and I'll deliver it myself for you in the next stream. I'll probably reply to you in the comment section first, and make sure I understood what you want to say, and then I'll try to present it for you myself in the next stream. Okay, so I hope that's fine. Just that way, we'd be able to have more contributions from various people, because we get around, I think altogether, usually around between 300 to 500 people watch this stream, it seems, afterwards. That's the view count on the YouTube shows me anyway. All right, so let me get on the presentation that I've actually been asked quite a few times by people to do something about Kufr and the meaning of Kufr, and it's more difficult to do than about Shirk. Shirk is actually a much easier one to go through, but and this is a huge topic, but I'll try to shed a bit more light on it. I think most people have a generally good idea about some of the essential aspects of this, especially where it differs from the traditional idea, which is that and what you find in most translations, that it means disbelief. Most people understand now it doesn't mean disbelief. The classic, well, not classic, but the main argument that most people know for that is that Shaitan, Iblis, he's described as a kafir often in the Qur'an, and of course he's not a disbeliever. Okay, he doesn't disbelieve in God or the last day or anything like that. Okay, so that's one thing. So what I'll try to do here is bring a few other verses which try to shed light on this from aspect which I don't usually see. You can find some of these verses. I've mentioned them in some of my Reddit posts about about how it's actions that matter and not belief or disbelief. But anyway, first of all, just a few things to mention beforehand is that Kufr and many words, in fact, are quite multidimensional. They have their meanings can be looked at from many sides. They have a number of aspects. I'm reminded of this image that I saw once of a three-dimensional object, which when you look at it from one side, it looks like a circle because that side of it is a circle. But when you look at it from another side, it looks like a triangle because from that side, the shape is a triangle. From above, it looks like a square, etc. Okay, you get the idea that we have meanings and ideas which are sort of three-dimensional. And we can only describe in a linear fashion, really. Language is very linear if you think about it, right? It's one word following another word following another word. Okay, our words are in sequence, right? Our words are very, very linear. We say to say any sentence, it's one word followed by another, followed by the next. And that way is where we try to paint the picture. But it's like trying to paint a picture with just lines, right? It's not three-dimensional. But meanings can be three-dimensional. You can look at them from every aspect, right? You can describe a house from in front, okay? but the description, if you were to walk to the back of the house and describe the house from that side, it will look different, but it's the same house, it's the same structure. Okay. There is no one linear definition that will capture all sides. Okay, and the same thing. So I've actually abandoned this idea of, the definition of kufr in the Quran. I don't think you can get one definition of kufr in the Quran. You won't be able to get just one sentence or a couple of sentences which completely describe kufr. And it's not the only thing which is like that. It doesn't take away from its reality. It doesn't mean it's something not true. An example I always give is love, right? Everybody knows, love is a real thing. It does exist. There's some people, I think, I don't know if there are people like us, but who say, I don't believe in love or something. But, you can see love all around in, between two people, between a mother and her children, all around. Okay, you can see the idea of love. But has anybody ever been able to give one definition for love? No, right? Otherwise, all the poets would stop, right? But love has never been given one definition. In the same way, there are some concepts, high concepts, which they don't have just one singular definition. Okay, they're bigger than that. Okay, they're bigger than being encompassed in a linear word, language definition. And just like love, kufr is also something which is in the heart and actions. Okay, it's not belief. It's not a belief. Okay, it's not about whether you believe something or don't believe. Okay, kufr is it's something in the heart and it's actions. It's mainly actions. When you go through the Quran, you see that. And what I'll try to do is show some of that right now. Okay, so one of the key verses, if you want to memorize one verse to understand kufr, then I'd recommend this verse. So it says, "Man kafara fa'alayhi kufru." Okay, whoever kafara, then upon him is his kufr, right? And juxtaposed, and these juxtapositions are very important in the Quran. A lot of the times things are juxtaposed. Okay, so juxtaposed to that is وَمَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا فِلِأَنفُسِهِمْ يَمْهَدُونَ, and whoever does righteousness, then they are for themselves preparing. Okay, so here we have a juxtaposition of kufr with amal salih. Okay, so you can consider kufr to be the opposite of righteous actions. Okay, it's opposite of righteous actions, so it means bad actions. Evil actions, that kind of thing. Okay, so it's an opposite of that. But the point is, it's an action. Okay, it must be an action. Okay, in this sentence, kufr has to be some kind of action. Okay, it can't just be a belief, right? It says, "Man kafara fa'alayhi kufruhu وَمَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا فِلِأَنفُسِهِمْ يَمْهَدُونَ." And by the way, regarding these definitions, when it comes to these major words in the Quran, kufr, shirk, nifaq, iman, okay, these were actually words which were religiousized by the Quran. Before the Quran, the Arabs never used to use these words. Kufr, kafir, calling somebody a kafir, or this is kufr, or mushrikeen, or nifaq. These weren't common words. Okay, these weren't part of the sort of the religious lexicon, right? Which is why the Quranic definitions are important. Some people try to define a lot of things from the Quran which don't need to be defined from the Quran because they are just part of language. Okay, men, women, I don't know, a number of things. You find that especially in the Quranist community, where they try to find a definition for things which are just known things. Okay, they're just part of language. Okay, they were used before and after the Quran. The reason why we can do this with things like kufr and shirk and nifaq, why we look at the Quran for the definitions there, is because these are things which the Quran revived. Okay, these are things which the Quran took up and religiousized. Okay, they weren't used like this before the Quran. And that's why, you have this in the Quran as well, where the Quran literally invents new terms. Al-Qari'atu mal-Qari'a, wa ma adraka mal-Qari'a, right? Al-Qari'a, what is Al-Qari'a? And what will tell you what Al-Qari'a is, and then it explains. Okay, so we have to be aware of this, that there are certain key terms in the Quran where it's the Quran we have to look at for the definitions. All right, so when these words were brought in by the Quran, the issue was that the traditional landscape later, how Islam developed into a religion, they then defined these things, okay, through the traditional ways or through people who are not really, contemplating the Quran. So then kufr became disbelief. Shirk became any stone worship and idol worship. That's what kufr, what shirk is. Nifaq became, to pretend to be a believer. That's not what it is in the Quran at all. Nifaq is not that at all in the Quran. Iman became belief, believing, so, but these are all words which we really need to redefine from the Quran, because the Quran brought them into being, actually. Here's another thing which, again, this sort of juxtaposition, I want to show something here. So you have many verses in the Quran which talk about, tasting the punishment because of your kufr, right? فَذُوقُوا الْعَذَابَ بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَكْفُرُونَ. There are 4 verses for that, okay? Then taste the punishment for you used to takfurun, right? Kufr. And another verse which says, enter, the hell, هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون. This is the hell which you were promised. اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون. Enter it or burn in it today for what you used to takfurun. Now, why am I showing you these 2 verses? And I've mentioned before that hell and paradise, you enter them by your actions. All right. And here, though, it's saying you enter it by kufr. And I've always said, yes, you enter it by kufr, because kufr comes down to action. Again, just like this verse here, man kafara fa'alayhi kufruhu wa man amila salihan. And whoever does good, then it's for themselves. So kufr is action. And here as well, when you look at these verses, and then you look at the other verses which talk about in the same sort of way, okay? Here, for example, in Surah Al-Sajdah, it says, فَذُوقُوا, again, taste, فَذُوقُوا بِمَا نِسِيتُمْ لِقَاءَ يَوْمِكُمْ هَذَا إِنَّا نَسِينَاكُمْ. And again, وَذُوقُوا عَذَابَ الْخُلْدِ بِمَا كُنْتُمْ تَعْمَلُونَ. Okay, so taste the punishment of khuld, okay, because of what you used to do. So it's the same thing, all right? If here we have 4 verses saying, taste the punishment because of what you used to takfurun, and here it's taste because of what you used to ta'malun, what you used to do. Again, okay, we have this equating of kufr with action because of what you used to do. Okay, so it's a response. So kufr is basically the type of action which is a response. Okay, it's a reaction to things, denial, sudud, these kind of things. We're going to come to some more, okay? And again here, so I showed you the first verse here, which says, taste the punishment because of what you used to do. And the one that it says, islawha al-yawma, islawha, enter it or burn in it this day because of what you used to takfurun. And here again we have islawha, the same word, islawha, fasbiru aw la tasbiru. Okay, enter or burn therein, then be patient or impatient. It is all the same for you. سواء عليكم إنما تجزون ما كنتم تعملون. You're only being rewarded for what you used to do. Okay, so again we have this mirroring. Okay, over there islawha bima kuntum takfurun, and here islawha, and you are only being recompensed for what you used to do. So the takfurun here is action. Okay, it's action, right? It's what you used to do. Okay, what's this verse? Let's see. Okay, so this is an interesting verse. He's talking about Bani Israel. وَإِذَا أَخَذْنَا مِيثَاقَكُمْ لَا تَسْفِكُونَ دِمَاءَكُمْ وَلَا تُخْرِجُونَ أَنفُسَكُمْ مِنْ دِيَارِكُمْ ثُمَّ أَقْرَرْتُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ تَشْهَدُونَ. Okay, so God is speaking to Bani Israel, reminding them of what He did in the past for them. This is in early in Surah Al-Baqarah. It says, and recall when we took your covenant, saying, do not shed each other's blood. That's one. Or evict one another from your homes. Okay, so the Bani Israel were prevented from doing. They shouldn't be killing each other or evicting each other from their homes. So they acknowledged that. Okay, and were witness to that. Then what happened? ثم أنتم هؤلاء تقتلون أنفسكم وتخرجون فريقا منكم من ديارهم تظاهرون عليهم بالإثم والعدوان. Okay. Let me just go straight to the translation. Then you are those same ones, okay? You kill each other and you evict each other apart. You evict a party of your people from their homes, cooperating against them in sin and aggression. Okay, so they used to do this. They used to, they were a covenant was given to them that they shouldn't do that, but they did it. Yeah. But the strange thing is that once they've evicted these people from their homes, okay, and if they were to, then these people who they evicted were attacked by another people, okay, then what they would do is they would ransom them, because also in their scripture that they should ransom those who are captive, who are taken captives from among themselves. They should ransom their captives, basically. Okay, but wait a minute, you guys, you expelled them from their homes, okay, which you're not allowed to do. But then when they are brought to you as captives, and those who captured them are asking for ransom, you will ransom them according to the scripture. Now, this is a shahid, all right? So God mentions it and it said, so do you believe in part of the scripture? Atu'minuna iman in part of the scripture, and takfuruna bi ba'd, and do kufr in the other part? What does that mean, do kufr in the other part? It means that the kufr was that they actually, fought each other, killed each other, and expelled them from their homes. Whereas the part where they believed in is the part that they acted upon, which was that they ransomed them. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's clear. That their kufr was their evicting and killing, so it was action. Okay, whereas the iman in the scripture, so they believed in that part of the they did kufr in that part of the scripture. Okay, by not abiding by that covenant to not kill and not evict each other, but they believed in the part of the scripture means they did it. Okay, they did the part which says ransom them. Okay, and so this is what this verse is saying. So do you believe in part of the scripture and takfuruna bi ba'd? Now it says, then what is the recompense for those who do that among you? Do that. So again, these are both actions. Tu'minuna bi ba'd al-kitab wa takfuruna bi ba'd. Okay, you have faith in part of the book, and you do kufr with part of the book. You do that. Okay, then what is the recompense for those who do that among you, except disgrace in the world of life, and on the day of judgment they will be sent back to the severest of punishment, and Allah is not unaware of what you do. Again, what you do. So all of these are actions. Okay, iman and kufr. Okay, we're talking about actions here, and they're described as iman and kufr, right? So it says again, let me read it in Arabic. ثم أنتم هؤلاء تقتلون أنفسكم وتخرجون فريقا منكم من ديارهم تظاهرون عليهم بالإثم والعدوان وإن يأتوكم أسارى تفادوهم وهو محرم عليكم إخراجهم أفتؤمنون ببعض الكتاب وتكفرون ببعض? Do you have faith? Do you have iman in part of the book, and kufr وتكفرون and do kufr in the other part? Okay, فما جزاء من يفعل ذلك. So what is the recompense of he who does that among you, منكم إلا خزي في الحياة الدنيا ويوم القيامة يردون إلى أشد العذاب وما الله بغافل, and God is not unaware, عما تعملون, about what you do. Okay, so I hope that's clear. It's a bit, maybe it's not very easy to show it here, but that's best I could do right now. Here's another verse, very interesting set of verses. This in Surah Al-Mutaffifin, in Juz' Amma. So it says, it's a series, okay? So I didn't put all the verses. I'm just putting the important verses, which is verse 29 and 34. So it says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ أَجْرَمُوا كَانُوا مِنَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا يَضْحَكُونَ. Okay, then it continues. وَإِذَا مَرُّوا بِهِمْ يَتَغَامَزُونَ وَإِذَا انقلبوا فَاكِهِينَ. So it says, truly those who committed crimes, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ أَجْرَمُوا. Okay, and really ijram is not really, that's another topic actually. What does ijram and mujrim, what does that mean in the Quran? Because it's not what we usually think about. But here it says crimes. Let's stick with that, just so you know it's an action basically. Okay, those who committed crimes used to laugh at those who believed. Okay, then later, a few verses later, it says, فَالْيَوْمَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنَ الْكُفَّارِ يَضْحَكُونَ. So today, those who have faith will be laughing at the kuffar, and those who had kufr. So what do we have here? We have that before these were called الَّذِينَ أَجْرَمُوا. Okay, while they were in this world and they were doing ijram. Okay, in the next world, these who were ajramu are called al-kuffar. So again, you have this mirroring. Okay, so الَّذِينَ أَجْرَمُوا are al-kuffar. Okay, so that's again another link to show you that ijram and kufr are linked. Okay, Okay, it helps explain the meaning of kuffar. الذين كفروا are الذين أجرموا. Okay, that's why, tit for tat. Okay, used to laugh. They used to laugh at the faithful in this world. In the next world, the faithful will laugh at them. Okay, and these group are the same people. الذين أجرموا الذين كفروا. Okay, so it helps again shed light on what does it mean الكفار. What are the kuffar? They are الذين أجرموا, those who committed crimes. Here's another interesting one. يسألونك عن الشهر الحرام قتال فيه. Okay, they ask you about the الشهر الحرام, the sacred month, fighting in it. Say to them, قتال فيه كبير. Okay, fighting in it is a big thing, and this is an important part. وصد عن مسجد عن سبيل الله, and it is it's a صد, a prevention on the path to God. وكفر به, and it is kufr with him. والمسجد الحرام, and kufr with the Masjid al-Haram. Now most of the translators, they'll put something in brackets where as if it's not saying kufr in the Masjid al-Haram. No, the verse is saying kufrun bihi wal Masjid al-Haram. Okay, it is the fighting thing. It is kufrun bihi wal Masjid. Now, of course, a lot of the time the translators, I think what they do based on tafsirs and stuff, they will say that this whole, let me actually just read the English so it'll be easier. They ask you about the sacred months, about fighting therein. Say, fighting therein is a great sin and averting people from the way of God, and kufr in him, and al-Masjid al-Haram, an expulsion of its people therefrom are greater evils in the sight of Allah, and fitna is greater than killing, and fighting is greater. Now the issue is that they say, okay, what is greater and where does it stand? I changed this translation where, in the translation it would say fighting therein is great sin, and then it would say but. This is changed to but in the translation. In Arabic it just says and. Okay, and diverting people. So where is the divide? Where is the but? I don't put it there. I put it Kufr bi Masjid al-Haram. I put the but here. But the expulsion of its people from therefrom are greater evil in the sight of God. Is a greater evil. Okay, Akbaru and Allah. I would put the sort of the and, which stands for but. I'd put it here. But the important thing here for our topic is it's saying kufrun bihi, in God, kufr in God, in Him, and the Masjid al-Haram. What does kufr in the Masjid al-Haram mean? Of course, it doesn't mean disbelief in the Masjid al-Haram. They all believed it was there, but kufr with it is basically sort of complete disregard for the Masjid al-Haram, right? So you completely disregard God, you completely disregard the Masjid al-Haram, the sacred sanctity of it, and you fight therein. Okay, so it means that that disregard. So again, it's this kind of action. Okay, that this fighting in the sacred month is a kufr, is a type of kufr. Okay, the actual fighting therein is kufr. Okay, and there's greater things than this kufr, right? There are a lot of things which are greater. Here's another. We've got in Surah الممتحنة, Surah 60. قد كانت لكم أسوة حسنة في إبراهيم. Okay, so there you had for you an uswa hasana. An uswa is the correct word we should be using for when we talk about the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It's really uswa. Okay, the sunnah in the Quran is the sunnah of God. Okay, and here we have again the uswa of Ibrahim. Okay, he's saying there is for you a good uswa in Ibrahim and those with him, when they said to their people, "Inna bura'a minkum," we are innocent of you. وَمِمَّا تَعْبُدُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ, and from what you worship or serve other than God. Then it says كَفَرْنَا بِكُمْ, we are doing kufr on you basically. It's not takfir. كَفَرْنَا بِكُمْ. Okay, if we were to translate that in terms of this, we would say we disbelieve in you. As if Ibrahim and those with him are saying we disbelieve in our people. No, of course it doesn't mean disbelieve in our people. But it says here كَفَرْنَا بِكُمْ وَبَدَا بَيْنَنَا وَبَيْنَكُمُ الْعَدَاوَةُ وَالْبَغْضَاءُ. Okay, the translation has it as, well, I changed it. I removed whatever it did say. But it says here we have كَفَرْنَا in you. Okay, what does that mean? كَفَرْنَا. Well, it basically means we're rejecting what you're doing, rejecting your whole way. Okay, this servitude that you have to other than God, which of course doesn't mean the worship of the stones and idols and this sort of stuff. No, it means we're rejecting this, the whole way. Okay, kafarna bikum wa bada baynana wa baynakum, and between us enmity has come. Okay, hatred and everything forever until you believe in God alone. Okay, until you have faith in God alone. But again, the point is that here we have kafarna bikum. We are doing kafarna upon you, the people, right? So we are denying or rejecting your way. That sort of meaning. Okay, it doesn't mean we disbelieve, in our people. Okay, and I mentioned this verse in I think last week's stream or one before it. وقال الشيطان لما قضي الأمر إن الله وعدكم وعد الحق ووعدتكم فأخلفتكم وما كان لي عليكم من سلطان إلا أن دعوتكم فاستجبتم لي فلا تلوموني ولوموا أنفسكم ما أنا بمصرخكم وما أنتم بمصرخية إني كفرت بما أشركتموني من قبل. Okay, so this is Shaitan on Day of Judgment, when everything is done. He will say, indeed Allah had promised you the promise of truth, and I promised you, but I betrayed you. Okay, but I betrayed you. But I had no authority over you except that I invited you and you responded to me. Okay, yeah, we mentioned this verse when we were talking about the authority or the sultan of Shaitan. So do not blame me, he will say, but blame your own selves. I cannot be called to your aid, nor can you be called to my aid. Indeed, I deny, kafartu, your association of me with Allah before. Inni kafartu, where is it? It says, Inni kafartu bima ashraktumuni min qabl. Okay, I kafartu by what you have associated me with before. Okay, so again here, of course, it's not saying I disbelieve that you did that. No, he knows they did that. He's now sort of denial. I deny it. I reject that you did this for me. I reject that what you did, the kufr you did, and the shirk you did to me was the truth. I deny it today. On this day, I deny it. Okay, so but it doesn't mean, of course, disbelief. And this is, I think this is the last verse I have for you. That's the last verse. We could go. There are just so many verses. I mean, I just put in, pretty much not at random, but I started to select as many as I thought maybe you hadn't heard of or thought of in a way before, because some of these they're not brought into these verses. Some of these verses are not brought into the discussion of what kufr means. So maybe somebody else will be able to take them up and maybe write something about them. But this verse here is probably the most kufr-laden verse in the Quran. Okay, kufr is mentioned, I think, 4 times in this short verse. So it says, هو الذي جعلكم خلائف في الأرض. He is the one who made you viceroys or khalifas on the earth. Okay, now of course, why did God make us a khalifa on the earth? It was for actions. Okay, to be a khalifa, representative. When you represent somebody, you represent him in the actions that you do. Okay, so this is فَمَنْ كَفَرَ فَعَلَيْهِ كُفْرُ. Okay, this is like the very first verse I showed you. Whoever does kufr, then upon him is his kufr. Exactly the same phrase. فَمَنْ كَفَرَ فَعَلَيْهِ كُفْرُ is repeated in that first verse and here. In that first verse it said, فَمَنْ كَفَرَ فَعَلَيْهِ كُفْرُهُ وَمَنْ عَمِلَ صَالِحًا, and whoever does good, then it's for themselves. So again, here we're talking about something which is in another verse in the Quran, it's just juxtaposed with action. Okay, then it says وَلَا يَزِيدُ الْكَافِرِينَ كُفْرُهُم, and the kafirin, their kufr does not increase them with their Lord, in the presence of their Lord, عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ إِلَّا مَقْتًا, except for dislike or disgust. Okay, maqtan. Okay, and this word maqt is what's used when God says كَبْرُ مَقْتًا أَن تَقُولُوا مَا لَا تَفْعَلُونَ. It is a big maqt in God's sight that you say what you do not do. Okay, when God is speaking to the companions of the Prophet, saying, why do you say what you do not do? Okay, kabura maqtan, a great maqt in God's sight, that you say what you do not do. Okay, so it's this kind of sort of disgust or dislike with something. It's not really hatred. Some of them have translated this as hatred, but I reject that. There's nothing in the Quran where God says he hates something. Okay, كفرهم عند ربهم إلا مقتا ولا يزيد الكافرين كفرهم, and the kufr of the kafirin does not increase them except in loss. Doesn't increase them except in loss. This is a verse which needs a bit more thought to it. But again, I think it shows that we're not talking about disbelief here. We're not talking about anything which is any kind of disbelief, especially when you pair it with the first verse we looked at, where you have this same phrase, which in that verse was just juxtaposed to actions. Let me bring that first verse again because I think it's the key one. I'll leave that on the screen. And I check now on who we have with us today. All right. Hey, Salam, Adriana. Yes, you have stuff to do, but listening. Jazakallah. Excellent. Let me see what else we have in the chat. We have nobody backstage today, so it might mean we'll finish early. If anybody has a question or something, I'll put it. Just put it, re-put it in the chat for me, so it comes up recent rather than me scrolling all the way up. Because I think this might be people having their own conversation here, right? Let me just go back. Okay, we have here. Can love be defined as deep affection? Yeah, you could say deep affection, but again, look, every definition you give won't apply to somewhere else where you can see that love in effect, right? Deep affection, okay. You can have deep affection between two people and that, but it's not always that. Sometimes it's what does that mean anyway? Deep affection. Let's say you have deep affection. You can have deep affection with with an animal, a pet, and that kind of stuff. But when you talk about the love that I mentioned, really, I was talking about the love that you would have between, maybe people are like, what's the difference between this deep affection, love, and the deep affection which is between, a married couple, for example. Kufr sometimes means being unthankful. Yeah, exactly. There's many verses in the Quran where you have, maybe I should have put at least some of those. So thanks for reminding me about that. There's many verses in the Quran where kufr is actually, its opposite is shukr, right? And that's again, takes us back to what I mentioned before, that even shukr is action, right? And mentioned that in my long video, which is Quranic Islam versus inherited Islam. Shukr in the Quran is action, right? I'malu ala Dawood shukra. What says in the Quran? Do, O family of Dawood, shukr. Do shukr, right? And when God says, He is the one who gave you your hearing, your sight, and your intellect. قَلِيلًا مَا تَشْكُرُونَ. How little is it that you are thankful? God is not wanting you to sit there and say, "Oh God, thank you for my hearing, thank you for my eyes, thank you for my heart." You can say thank you until the cows come home. Okay, no, God wants you to actually show gratitude with them by actually using them as they were meant to be used. Okay, so actions, do something with them. Okay, listen and really listen. Okay, look and really look. Okay, think and feel and really think and feel. Okay, that's what that means. Okay, I've given the example of that because God is free; He doesn't need your thanks. The example I like to give of that is, we've all, hopefully, all of us have some books which we really love and have really touched us, right? Some book, when you have a book that you really like, okay, and then if there's somebody else who you really like, a good friend or somebody, and oh my God, you got to read this book. Here, let me give you this book, okay? Or you don't even lend your own copy. You buy them their own copy, okay? Because you love this book so much, and you like this person so much, so you give them that book. Okay, here, read this. You're gonna love it, right? And then imagine if, the next time you go to them, you ask, you're excited. Have you started that book? And no, I haven't looked at it yet. 1 week goes by, 2 weeks goes by, a month, 2 months. This guy who you gave this book hasn't read it. Okay, would you feel grateful? Okay, would you feel that person is being grateful to you? Okay, he's not showing any gratitude, right? But if they were to actually read the book, you become happy with that. You're happy that they've done it. Okay, because It's something which you find beneficial, which you liked, so you gave it to that person so that they can enjoy it and find beneficial, and you can sort of partake in that, right? You share an excitement that they have, just like when you read the book for the first time. Now they're reading it for the first time, they're excited, you get excited as well. Okay, so but that's what I mean. Now if they were to take that book, for example, use it as a door stump, something to hold the door open, or use it to prop up a leg of the bed, or so you go to the house and you find that's what they've done with the book that you really love, that's not gratitude. Or they've, in a camping trip, they, use pages of it to start a fire or something, right? So gratitude is to actually use the thing that's meant to be used. So that book, it's meant to be read. Somebody gives you a book so you can read it, all right? So the gratitude of a book is that you read the book. Okay, you read the book and really think about it. Somebody gives you a book, you show gratitude by reading it. Okay, and God has given you things, and the gratitude is by using them as you were supposed to. Use your eyes, use your ears, use all the things which God has given you. If you use them, do actions with them, that's shukr. And so that's why kufr is juxtaposed with shukr in the Quran. Okay, they're both actions. Okay, shukr is to actually use it as they're intended to be used. Kufr is to do the opposite, right? To abuse them, abuse your hearing, your sight, your intellect, all of that. Abuse it and reject it and stuff like that. Yeah, like the book, you give it to somebody, and like I said, they use it to start a fire. They're using it, to prop up a bed. They're using it, I don't know, the pages of it to wipe some spilt coke or something. Okay, that's kufr. That's the kufr of the ni'mah. Okay, that's kufr of a gift that you've given them. Okay. I think it is to deny the truth from God after acknowledging. Yeah, that's one of the more advanced definitions that you find. That kufr is that to cover up something, right? And that's one of the means of kufr, right? To cover something up, right? So they say it's to know the truth and then deny it. Okay, but let me ask this: what did Shaitan cover up? When he refused to bow down to Adam, what did he cover up? Right? God called him, Aba wastakbara wa kana min al-kafirin. He was of the kafirin. Shaitan hasn't covered up anything. I mean, he was actually very explicit to God. Saying, no, I'm not going to bow down to this. You created him from mud, clay. You created me from fire. ما يكون لي أن أسجد لبشر خلقته من صلصال من حمأ مسنون. He says in the Quran, it's not for me, Iblis. It's not for me to bow down to a human that you've created from clay. That's not for me. So what is the kufr here? So yes, kufr, you have this covering up, but it doesn't always have to be covering something external. It can be covering yourself up with your arrogance, with your pride, with your, to be covered up in that kind of way. If you want to talk about it in the metaphysical sense of what does kufr mean in that way, cover up, okay, then it can also be that it's not just you're covering up a truth, it means you're covering up yourself as well, your heart, with your own arrogance, with your own pride, with your own thing. You're covering that side of yourself up as well. But it doesn't always have to be not denying a truth that that is one of the things which is definitely kufr. So that is a kufr, to deny truth that that definitely is kufr. And there are verses in the Quran which show that. But again, that's why I say that this word kufr is very multidimensional. Okay, so it's like we need to think of it like a 3D concept. Okay, like think of a 3D structure in your mind. Okay, from one side you can see a certain shape. From the other side, it looks a different shape. Okay, the front of a house, you can describe it. It can be a very different description from when you go to the back and you describe from the back. Right, in the front, there's the garage, there's the front door, there's this. From the back, you see a garden, you see a balcony, you see something else. Okay, so that's what I would say. But like I said, I don't think that one definition can encompass it. I don't think one definition. You have to grasp the idea of kufr itself, just as you can grasp the idea of love. Right? That's what I would say. Yeah. So here again, right? Just Muslim is saying, "Assalamu alaikum, Joanna. I'm a native Arabic speaker." In the dictionary, kufr means covering. Yeah. But one of the things, one of the issues with the dictionaries is they were all written after the Quran. right? Just remember that whenever you think of the rules of Arabic, grammar, or the dictionaries, they all came after the Quran. Okay, and one of the issues is that it's like a catch-22, right? That if there are some concepts where the traditional idea got became widespread before the dictionaries were put in, and then that became part of the dictionary. Okay, that became so a corrupted meaning got into the dictionary. Okay, the dictionaries all came after the Quran. Okay, that's the important thing to remember. Okay, because otherwise, sorry, I'm getting all these notifications at me. Okay, so you should be wary of the dictionaries to a certain degree. The earlier dictionaries, they are of course better and will use some of the pre-Islamic poetry and some of the things which were around at that time, but some of them are influenced by the traditional understandings. Okay, because it happened very quickly. You have to remember this change all happened very quickly. The idea of kufr meaning disbelief, and nifaq just means pretending to be a Muslim or pretending to believe. No, a munafiq can actually think he's a believer, right? A hypocrite can actually think he's a complete believer. This one, I understand shirk as not believing in God, not trust Him completely, which is association with false densities. Yeah. There's a very good article by Juan Cole. I don't know how to pronounce his name. I think it's Juan Cole, Dr. Juan Cole, right? Juan, right? Cole, where he discusses shirk or kufr. I forget which one it was, but it was very, very interesting. It was very similar to what I would say. He says that shirk is more like what we would consider kufr. Let's see. Suppose now we need episodes on Iman and Nifaq. Yeah. I mean, really, these are the key big terms in the Quran. Really, I mean, I've been trying to look at pre-Quran. Okay, and of course that's difficult to do because everything pre-Quran is narrated after Quran, right, and then written down after the Quran. Okay, but you can still get some of the ideas, like some things like poetry survives in its way much more readily than stories of he said to him, then this happened, and the tales. Okay, they're going to be like the hadiths. They're going to be transmitted by meanings, right? What the person understands later on. But the poetry especially keeps its structure, keeps its words inside because of the meter and stuff like this. And so when you're looking at the pre-Islamic poetry and poetry of that time, you just don't find these terms. Okay, nifaq, iman, shirk, kufr. They're not used. Even when in religious context, they're not used much. And these are things which the Quran brought into being, right? Like Ar-Rahman, right? The Quran mentions often that the mushrikeen wonder, what is this Ar-Rahman? They didn't have this word, right? There are many words the Quran pushed forward, and one of the things that you can do when you bring a word from obscurity, okay, you can redefine it. Okay, if there's an obscure word which is not well used, not very many people use, you start using it. Okay, now you're giving it the meanings, right? Because language is like that; it's fluid, right? It changes. Yes, the more you use something, the more it changes. I remember one sort of older sheikh, right, in London. We were at this sort of event, and he got up and he was speaking, and he was saying, this was like when it's around 2000 and I don't know, 2017, 18, something like that. Anyway, the Sudanese sheikh, he's lived in the UK all his life, but he says, gets up and he's speaking, and he says to the people, he's speaking, the language is important, and he's talking about language. How is your parent supposed to know when you say to something, oh, that's wicked, that means good? Of course she gets angry, because for her, For her, wicked is bad, but for you now, wicked means good. Okay, and then then he says, but then well, the other day, one of the little kids came up to me and said, teacher, because he was a teacher, this sheikh, teacher, wicked, it's we don't use that anymore. It's not good anymore. There's a new one now. He says, what is it? Sick, he says. Sick is the one. So, oh, that's sick. Yeah, it's good, right? Now, that's what happens, right? When you take a word and you use it often in a certain way, it gives it a whole different meaning. So this I think happened with these words. Okay, nifaq, kufr, iman. The Quran brought them out. They weren't used much, and by the constant use, okay, they are given that meaning which is in the Quran, which is why we need to understand their meaning from the Quran. Not so every word in the Quran. Okay, that can't be done. Okay, let me just see anything else we have in the chat. Doesn't look like we're going to have anybody coming on today, so we'll end early once I go through these chat. Sadly, the majority of us do not know the meaning of kufr. Yeah, that's right. No one checks the dictionary. They still believe it means non-Muslim. Yeah, they still think it means non-Muslim. All right, but anybody who is because that's what they did, right? That's what happened. Darul Islam and Darul Kufr, right? That's what the early empire builders wanted, right? There's Darul Islam, Darul Kufr, right? Darul Islam, Darul Harb. Again, now go and fight, expand our empire for us, right? By calling everybody who's in Darul Kufr is a kafir, right? And of course, that's not right, right? The Quran starts off, Ya Yuhan Nas, okay, O mankind. Not everybody, mankind. People are mankind before they are kuffar. Arabs don't speak classical Arabic anymore. That's right. That's true. But it's true. I mean, Arabs don't speak classical Arabic anymore. They speak dialects, etc. But one thing I want to remind people, especially those who are, who want to learn Arabic or learn Arabic specifically for the Quran. The Quran really is using very simple Arabic. Okay, it's using very simple Arabic. لَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. Okay, that's why the Quran is actually using so few. The amount of vocabulary in the Quran is very, very little. It's actually very, very little. And most of the Quran has even less of a vocabulary, range, really. Okay, a lot of the new words or the words which might be obscure and stuff, they're found in the last two portions of the Quran. Okay, the last two juz. Okay, that has more unique terms than most of the rest of the Quran. Okay, but you go through Surah Al-Baqarah, Al Imran, all of these big surahs. Okay, and the rest, the language is very simple. It's very easy, very, very simple, made very easy, accessible. You don't need to learn much Arabic to be able to understand the Quran at all. And that's one of the things that people say that the miracle of the Quran is its eloquence. Yes, it is eloquent. Okay, it is definitely at the height of eloquence, but it's also simple. Okay, the idea that people say that the Quran, there's nothing could be more eloquent than the Quran, that's not true. Okay, God could have, if He wanted, make something much more eloquent than the Quran. God was not aiming for eloquence with the Quran. He was aiming for guidance and ease of remembrance. وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلذِّكْرِ فَهَلْ مِن مُدَّكِرٍ. We've made the Quran easy for remembrance and reminder. So is there anybody who will be reminded? Okay, so take heart in that. Anybody who wants to learn enough Arabic to get the Quran, you'll be able to understand the Quran before you'll be able to understand an Arabic newspaper. Okay, much more easy. So don't forget to give the live a like. Yes, thank you. I have a promoter. Thank you, Adriana. Interesting verse. The past 10 years have seen tremendous increase in the contemplation of Quran and Scripture. Yes, definitely. Science developed as humans. Yes, alhamdulillah. Yes, I mean, there's, the very, very interesting. It's that people, for example, like Hassan al-Maliki, if it wasn't for the modern age internet and Twitter and YouTube, and nobody would know about him. You would not hear about him, which makes you wonder, before this age, how many people were like this. Okay, I mean, it's not something new. People sometimes say, "Oh, you just now are saying this." No, it's not just now. And I'm sure there's people have been all throughout the centuries, thinking in a very Quran-centric way. Okay, but the problem is they're not going to be put on the mimbars. You only hear about the before you would only hear about the scholars on the mimbars, right? The ones on the pulpits. Where else do you hear about Deen? They're not going to get their books. There's no publishing, okay, for mass thing. It's only scribes that will write. And the people who used to be scribes as well, they had their own sectarian biases. They might not want to, be ascribed to something which they consider to be bid'ah or kufr, etc. So take heart in that as well. That there's a lot more. There's a lot more who are silent than were able to speak out. Now, pretty much anybody can speak out, right? You can create a blog, have a Twitter, have YouTube channel, and you can reach thousands. So it's not. Again, as Arabs, we have taught Muslims the correct Arabic and provided them with accurate translations. We did not. Anybody's lost. Yeah. And again, look, I really do believe. I mean, if you just you have to be careful in the translations, but at the same time, pretty much any translation of the Quran will do if you're going to contemplate it on a more like bird's eye view. Okay, don't look. If you try to get into the Quran and discuss the very detailed intricacies, okay, without Arabic, then you're going to be lost. Okay, but you can understand, take a reminder from the Quran, remembrance from a global point of view. I tried to do that with the video about those who God loves and those who God doesn't love. Okay, that's a very simple way that anybody, whether they had Arabic or not, they could have contemplated the Quran that way, right? Look, all the verses which where God says He loves a people, and all those where God says He doesn't love a people. And there are many other verses which can do the same thing. Look at all the verses where God promises paradise, and all the verses where He promises hell. Okay, and look at what is in there. Yes, covering the truth is a crime. Yeah, and covering the truth is an action as well. Don't forget. Okay, so in the end, kufr and words are actions. Words fall under actions. Okay, words do fall under actions. It's not just actions of the limbs, actions of the tongue as well. Tafsirs are the easiest road to confusion. Yeah, I definitely agree with that 100%. Tafsirs will just take you all over the place. Okay, let me actually move down. I'm coming to the end of these comments. MashaAllah, we have a comment in English. Naeed loves Kafirat fil Qur'an. Let's see. تقديرهم كما كان الرجال في النساء. Okay, very interesting. Very nice comment here. He's saying, look, that because in the Quran you have what? Al-mu'mineen wal-mu'minat. You also have, by the way, al-munafiqeen and al-munafiqat, right? You have mushrikeen and mushrikat, they mentioned. Okay, but the Quran, there's no word al-kafirat, doesn't come in the Quran. Okay, al-kafirat doesn't come in the Quran. You have mushrikat, you have munafiqat, but you don't have kafirat, right? And interesting that we don't know we don't know of a single, munafiqa in our tradition, right, in the traditional history. But he's saying that, look, is this the reason why there is no kafirat? Is that because that the women didn't have, in the past, in the Prophet's time, they didn't have the strength or the ability to cover up truths as the men did? Is that why they're not called kafirat? So basically saying that a woman, maybe is it because a woman can't be a kafira because she will not be able to cover up the truth, cover up truths in the past, didn't have the ability to do that. I'm not sure if it's a very interesting thing. I don't know why there is no kafirat mentioned in the Quran. If that's the reason, I'm not sure. It could be. But I'm thinking of, and if you have munafiqat, okay, and their actions are يصدون عن سبيل الله, right? The munafiqeen wal munafiqat, بعضهم من بعض, right? Some are from the other, and they enjoin what is wrong, and they forbid the truth. Okay, يصدون عن سبيل, and they prevent to the path of God. So these are all actions of kufr as well. So I'm not sure if they didn't have the ability. And I'm also thinking of, for those who know their history, the mother of Muawiyah, Hind. She was very involved, heavily involved in trying to be against Islam and cover it up and stuff like that. Also, the wife of Abu Lahab, وَامْرَأَةُ حَمَّالَةَ الْحَطَبِ, she's mentioned in the Quran. But it's very interesting. I've never thought of that. And, it would take a lot more, somebody would have to give it a lot more thought than I have. But yes, very interesting. Why is and kafirat not mentioned in the Quran? And it says, فَلَمْ يَكُونْ سِيَاسَاتٍ. Yeah. So he's saying women never used to be, political figures, but I'm not sure about it, because again, look, remember, don't forget, there's the woman who became a prophetess, right? And there are some women who did lead the Arab tribes in the past. It wasn't very common, but it did used to happen. Yeah, and they didn't have any weapons, and they weren't preachers, didn't have any members, whereas men did. So that's what our brother, just a Muslim, is saying. But yes, it's very interesting. I've never thought of that. I never noticed that the Quran doesn't have the word kafirat. So very interesting. I wonder if anybody else can shed some light on that. Jazakallah khair. I reckon from the one single verse regarding shaitan being called a kafir, we can interpret a great deal regarding some of the implications of the word. Yes, definitely. I mean, if by the stream people can just get away from the idea that kafir means disbeliever or to not believe, I think that's a big success, because it just doesn't mean it's got nothing to do with believing or not believing. Okay, and kufr is worse than shirk. Yeah, kufr is actually something which is worse than shirk, right? Kufr is in the heart, it's to do with the heart. It's worse than shirk. Shirk is more in the heart, isn't more in the mind, right? Shirk is more in the mind and less so in the heart, whereas the kufr is more so in the heart. And every person who's a kafir will be by necessity a mushrik in some way. Okay, mushrik in some way. Okay, that's why you have Surah Al-Kafirun, right? قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ. Okay, or say, "Oh, you kafirun, I'm not in servitude to that which you are in servitude to." And if they're in servitude to others from God, then that's shirk, right? That is, they have shirk. Another verse which is important, I could have put this as well. There's a verse in the end, in that same surah, where they laugh, right? Where فَالْيَوْمَ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا مِنْ الْكُفَّارِ يَضْحَكُونَ عَلَى الْأَرَائِكِ مُتَّكِئُونَ, I think. And then it says, هَلْ ثُوِّبَ الْكُفَّارُ مَا كَانُوا يَفْعَلُونَ. Are not the kuffar rewarded for what they used to do? Okay, هَلْ ثُوِّبَ الْكُفَّارُ مَا كَانُوا يَفْعَلُونَ, what they used to do. Right. So again, the kufr and the kuffar, it's all about they're being rewarded for their actions. Rewarded for their actions, not for any kind of belief or disbelief. Assalamu alaikum, brother, sister. I think to verify a word, as for instance, the word kufr or salat, we should study it and understand it through. Just a minute. For observation of the creation, what do you think? Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how we do that with some of the things. So salah, observation of the creation, I don't know how that is. I mean, salah for me, it's even though this, a lot of people mistake this channel as a sort of pure Qur'anist channel, which rejects all hadith and history and the narration. I don't do that. I think it's the salah is a mass, sort of just a mass. It's something that's done, en masse, transgenerationally. Nobody learnt salah from the hadith books, right? Even the early descriptions when they in the hadiths, when they were collecting about salah, they were never trying to describe salah. Okay, it was always all the hadiths about salah. They're all arguing about petty things, did raise the hands or not raise the hands? After the first, ihram, takbirat ihram, you first raise your hands, say Allahu Akbar. After that, do you raise your hands or not raise your hands? Do you go down on your knees or on your hands? Do you this or this or this or that? Okay, that's all they were arguing about. Why were they only arguing about that? Why were they only recording that? Because nobody even thought in their minds to record how to do salah. Okay, nobody thought, okay, we need to actually. Nobody narrated it because it's not something you need to narrate. It's there 5 times a day all around you. 5 times a day and more. Okay, we learned it from our parents. We learned it from the people. If you're a convert, you learn it from those who taught you it in the mosque. Nobody ever learned how to do salah from hadith. Okay, and until when they got old and they decided, okay, I want to pray only how the Prophet prayed from Sahih hadith. Then they tried to do that. Okay, but you can't do that. You'll never have a single hadith which shows you how the Prophet prayed in one instant. Okay, a complete description of how the Prophet prayed in one scenario, it doesn't exist. Okay, you have this person saying he did this person saying he did this, the Sahaba was doing it this way, and then they put it all together like a jigsaw and say that's how the Prophet prayed. No, I doubt that the Prophet prayed a single salah in the way that, in any of these patchwork things. Okay, you just put in jigsaw pieces together and say this is how the Prophet prayed. No, how do you know he prayed this way in even one salah in his life? You have no idea. And because it's not important, okay, the way you pray, it's not important. If it was important, it would have been mentioned in the Quran. The way to do wudu, the actual steps for the wudu is more important than the steps for salah. Okay, that's why God mentions it in the Quran. Anyway, that was a digression, wasn't it? Yeah, so from creation, some of these things you can learn from creation, from studying creation around you, but most of them I don't know. You'd have to, when you come on one day and try to show us an example of that, that would be good. Okay. All right, I think we'll stop there. Okay, we have another, hold on. Okay, before the Kufr, let's go to this one first. Kufr, not using what God has given you in His path, but using it to cause harms. You mean harms? Also to cover the truth, in my understanding. Yes, all of that is definitely a part of Kufr. I think the concept is a bigger idea than that. Okay, so it's just like, for example, if somebody can say, I could ask all of you right now to write down a definition of love, and love, you could see love in every one of those definitions. Okay, like somebody said before, it's deep affection. Somebody would say it's compassion and caring. Somebody would say it's affinity and wanting to be close to something. Okay, all of these can be definitions of love. They can tell you something about what love is, but I don't think we'll ever get one complete definition. But we can recognize it. You can see love, and in the same way, when you can see kufr, right? When you see something in front of you which is clear kufr, it's obvious. Okay, it's not something very difficult to see. We have here بعض المسلمين يغطون الحقائق للأسف. Yes, that's true. Some Muslims, they cover the truths. Unfortunately, فقد يحرفون. I think it's that غين. I can't see that properly. غايات القرآن أو ينكرون بعض ما أنزل الله عن علم لا عن جهل. Alright, so he's saying here that some of the Muslims also cover up truths, unfortunately, and they may it's called corrupt, or corrupt, change the aims of the Quran, the ghayat of the Quran, or deny them, deny some of what God has revealed with knowledge, while knowingly, not because they are ignorant. That's true. And that can happen basically because those who do that would do that in servitude to others. Okay, so they will deny something of what God has revealed, because they think that they've been told that way. They've been told by their madhab, by their sheikh, by this, that this is the correct way. So it doesn't matter that they can clearly see the Quran is saying something else. No, this is the right thing, they will say. It says أنا ضد التكفير ولا نحق الجاهل من الملة لكن حقيقة هم ضد الحقائق. Yes, so he's saying I don't I don't make takfir or anybody, or push anybody outside of this millah, outside of the path. But in truth, the actions are actions of ijram, and that's an interesting thing they use the word ijram, because the mujrim in the Quran is more of a sort of somebody who is actually doing some intellectual crimes, almost, you could say. So he's doing إجراما ضد الحقائق. So it's إجرامية ضد الحقائق. It's intellectual crimes against the truths. That's true. All right, I think we're going to end this now. I'm going to take this last one. That's one. Brother, you should talk to Terran Pooley sometime. I don't know who that is. Hadith skeptic. Open-minded people willing to listen. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I'm willing. Yeah, let him come on here, or if he has any kind of stream or something, we can. I don't mind going on him. I've actually thought about trying to do something else where we can have some guests on or something. Actually, there's a project which, unfortunately, I haven't been able to get around to it with another YouTuber that I wanna actually find the time to get onto it. It's supposed to be where he wants us together to respond to a series which is in Arabic, and he wants to make a response in English. And the series in Arabic is somebody who's basically trying to dismiss the Qur'anist sort of idea that the Qur'an alone is enough. And so I was supposed to listen to those videos and sort of take notes, and then so we can decide together how I would like to present this. But to be honest, listening to that guy just when I listen to 5 minutes of him, I get a headache. This traditional guy it's for just the Muslim or anybody else who's Arabic. It's called al-Mushaqiqun. If you look in YouTube, just type in al-Mushaqiqun. Yeah, there's a series of somebody who's just talking against the Qur'anist idea, and just gives me a headache listening to him. But we'll see, inshallah. I'll get to it. But yes, whoever this person is, Terran Pool, maybe when this video becomes on, you can put his a link to him or something in the comment section, and I'll see. Maybe we'll try to reach out to him. Is he a Muslim? This guy Terran Pool, or sorry, I'm butchering the name probably. All right, okay, I think we'll end in a minute. Let me just quickly read these things. He says all of the humble people are good. It's true, and all arrogant people are not on any good. And Kufr. Yeah, arrogance is the roots of Kufr. Shirk, and the roots of Shirk, and the roots of Ijram, Jarima Takfiriya. Well, I can't read that probably well. Badaniya, yeah. And the Bondali as well. Last one, I'm going to read this, and then inshallah we'll end the stream there. What do you call a person doing shirk but not involved in any harm against anyone, but he has shirk of obedience to his forefathers, like idol worship, but he also does many good things? Yeah, so this is one thing I've been asked quite a few times, I think, on Reddit and other places. Okay, so shirk is to be in servitude to other than God. Okay, so an example like this. Okay, somebody who is his shirk is confined to this very very sort of benign. Okay, somebody just worshipping an idol. Okay, that he neither harms somebody and doesn't anything wrong. Maybe he does a lot of good, gives charity, etc. What is his shirk? Okay, his shirk is that he obeys his forefathers, his society, in what? In bowing and prostrating and doing all of this to the idols. Okay, that's his shirk. It's confined to that. Well, that's his action. Okay, remember, all of these actions are going to be weighed up on the day of judgment. Okay, so the good against the bad. Okay, the shirk part of it doesn't matter even if you're a Muslim or not a Muslim. The shirk part of it, God does not forgive. Doesn't forgive as in yaghfir. Okay, there are 3 other words which are used in terms of forgiveness in the Quran. There's al-afu, which means to not punish. Okay, so not the person is not going to be punished. Okay, but that doesn't mean his crime is wiped out. There's a safh, which is like, opening a new page, right? Safha jadida, right? You open a new page, so you ignore what was before that. Okay, let's start a new page. Forget about what came before. Okay, and then there's ghufran, which is the highest thing, which is that what is before is obliterated. Okay, so a criminal who has had ghafr from God, the past deed is gone. Not only that, it can also be exchanged for goodness. Okay, that never happen. That doesn't happen with shirk. Okay, God will not swap the bad deed to a good deed of shirk. Okay, just that won't happen. But yeah, so in this kind of question, they will go on the day of judgment and they will be judged fairly. Okay, the good weighed against the evil. Okay, the good weighed against the evil. Says, please share when did realize Quran is not being studied as a Furqan when understand Hadith. Well, it's a long time. I mean, it's not. You make a lot of times people think, when did somebody realize something, and even some people, when they write like that, they write as if it's it just came to them and they realized. No, it's a long road, a very long journey, right? A very long journey. We never, when did I realize it? I mean, bits and pieces here, slowly you learn more. You get disconcerted. You despair of what people have done, and then you start to see. It's a long journey, right? So it took a long time. I mean, he says that as well. He says that quite often. He says it took me a long time to get out of my my madhabi, as he calls it. And he says I still have lots still in me. Yeah, it's not. You don't realize things so quickly. Slowly, you start to see where things are not matching with the Quran. Somebody else answered here. Mushrikeen. All of us do shirk. It's the most common thing. No one. Yeah, I mean, very few are going to be free completely from shirk. You need to be a believer first to commit kufr. You can't commit shirk. Yeah. One other thing that I would like to maybe discuss about was generally thought about as shirk in the Quran. This is something which, I would have hoped that, someone like Hassan and Malik would be out of prison to discuss these kind of things with him. But, because he hasn't mentioned anything about this. But in the Quran, we have, there are certain terms which are always mixed up as if they are all just shirk. Okay, so you have in the Quran, it talks about يعبدون من دون الله. Okay, عبادة من دون الله. Then you have shirk. Okay, so that's shirk. Then there's عبادة من دون الله. Okay, then you have the dua من دون الله, and you have dua مع الله. So these are four different things. Okay, four different things, and they're often just all put together as if they're all just that's shirk. It's not okay. There might be overlap. Okay, but I think these are terms which need to be studied properly as well. Yeah, because it's interesting as well. You have two of the kind. I think shirk is basically ibadah ma'allah, right? Shirk is ibadah ma'allah. Okay, but then you also have dua ma'allah. Okay, then you have there's ibadah min dunillah. Okay, and then you have dua min dunillah. Okay, so you have two sets. There's two sets of, of with God and min dunillah, ma'allah or min dunillah. Okay, and for shirk and dua together, and they both need to be analyzed properly. Okay, because I don't think it's right to put the label, just swap them all and say, okay, all of them are just shirk. No, they're not all shirk. Okay, God is being very specific here. Sometimes he's saying يعبدون من دون الله ويدعون من دون الله ويدعون مع الله. Okay, and each of these phrases need to be looked at. All right, okay, guys, I think I will end it there. Excellent. Thanks everybody for coming on. And just a reminder, for anybody listening later on, if you like, just put in any contribution into the comment section of these videos, any of these videos really, but the latest one is probably better. And and then if you're not able to present it to us, I can do that for you in the next live stream. Okay, and with that, jazakallah khair and salamu alaikum to everybody, and thank you again so much for coming on, and salam.